All right, we are live. This is Randy Seidl of the sales community. Very happy to host Kris from Sendoso. Kris, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me, Randy.
Great to have you. Dave Noor, who is usually my co-host, is actually facilitating a meeting for Bill Hogan of Security Scorecard, one of our advisory board meetings. So we will see if I can handle this without him. I just was looking back, and it turns out this is our 37th of these. And if you go to the sales community site, you'll see that we're actually booked every Wednesday now through, I think, beginning of November. So got a great lineup. So feel free to share. And to put in a couple shameless plugs, you will see whatever direction that is up there in the corner. I think my book just came out last week. It's called Your Go-To Sales Advisor. I've already gotten a lot of great feedback. You can either get it on Amazon or go to salescommunity.com/book. And I don't know, Kris, maybe eventually we should figure out do it through Sendoso.
Exactly. You can send some out through Sendoso.
Sorry about that. Long story short, there's I've got a bunch of best practices for me. I've got another 100 sales executive friends that have good tips and tricks and a lot of good things. I'd say definitely worth the $20. And then if you want to invest in yourself some more to learn more and sell more, definitely check out salescommunity.com. So anyway, on with the show. So Kris, maybe tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm a salesperson by trade. I spent about 10 years in software sales in San Francisco. And then about 5 years ago, while I was working at a company called Talkdesk, I found myself sending out a bazillion emails, as most salespeople do, and it was feeling unpersonal and it started to feel a little bit spammy. So I started to get creative with sending out handwritten notes and this swag from the swag closet or these quirky gifts. And it was just so time intensive that I said, hey, why isn't there a platform that allows me to click a button in Salesforce and send something out? And there really wasn't. And so that's where I had the idea for starting Sendoso, which is a sending platform that helps companies send out direct mail and gifts. And fast forward about 4.5 years later, we're now well over 400 employees, tens of millions in revenue, and scaling quite nicely.
Wow. You and I are both disciples of Mark Roberge and Product Market Fit, and is a great company, Stage 2 Capital.
Yep.
What was the first, maybe kind of a couple stories from maybe your kind of first, one or two customers, because you have the idea and you think it's going to work, and you don't know, and then that kind of goes into the whole product market fit side. So maybe tell us, I'm sure you remember your first kind of 1, 2, or 3 customers.
Yeah, I mean, our first customer is still with us today, which is great. And I think the thing I remember most about our first customer is between me and my co-founder, we were doing every function of the business for them. So we'd set the meeting and also then run the demo, then also be the implementation and setup person, then be the support, then do the invoicing and financing and billing for them, and work on product features for them. So in the first few customers were early and we were really had just a very small team, but it was impactful because they were really helpful in continuing to provide product feedback to continue to better our platform as it is today.
Wow, that's great. And I should remind folks, you can definitely, you can see us, we can't see you. So if you're in your pajamas or whatever, it's totally fine. But we definitely are happy to get any questions. So you can go in the chat bar area, I believe, and put in any questions or comments. And maybe some of you have used Sendoso before, but feel free to ask any questions. And then for those trying to look at any of the pictures in the background here, I'm actually at a friend's house who's hosting a board meeting right after this. So these pictures are not my family, in case you're trying to figure that out. Anyway, so moving on here. So on the one hand, I would say I sold T-shirts and hats and all that in college. So I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't think of your great idea they have going on. But yeah, I'd say on the one hand, it seems like it's a commodity space, right? So you got swag, you got shirts, you got mugs, you got hats, AirPods, blah, blah, blah. What's different about what Sendoso does?
Yeah, so we really took a technology first approach and really created a software platform that would make it easy for senders, so maybe a salesperson, to send stuff out of Salesforce or Outreach or SalesLoft or Groove or any other tool they're using. So there's a software first approach, which makes it easy for them to send from within the tools they currently use. It also makes it easy for one of the VP or whoever is administering this to set up budgets and rules and track the success of these programs. Also allowing for things like the ability to run reports and see analytics. So that's kind of the big things of software. The second piece is we really put everything that you could ever want to send under one roof. So you mentioned t-shirts and this and that. There's a ton of effort that goes into sourcing and finding and procuring those things. And so we have tens of thousands of different things that you can send, probably hundreds of thousands now. And so it really makes it not just t-shirts and stuff. You could send, a bottle of wine. You could send a virtual experience. We've seen people send having wine tasting events, or you could send digital gift cards, or you could send, the list goes on. And then all of this, everything is handled behind the scenes. So the fulfillment piece is tricky too, because there's kitting and handwritten notes and a lot of effort that goes into really that unboxing experience.
Wow. And we got a question here. I should also thank Tucker, who is our man. He's Oz behind the scenes here, making sure we operate well. So Will Gordon, our first question. Thank you. So Kris, what inspired you to start this company, which I think you touched on a little bit before, but hearing more about it would be great. And then who did the initial software development, or did you use an existing platform?
Yeah, so, the inspiration came from the pain point that I felt in sales, seeing that I was sending stuff out, but it was manual and cumbersome. And I really dreamed up of this streamlined software to make it easy to send stuff out. So it was really my own pain that inspired me to start the company, and also talking to a lot of other colleagues and friends in the sales and marketing space to see that they were wowed by this idea, assuming it was already out there. Because it seemed obvious, but then said, hey, if you start this, we'll be customers. So really the inspiration came from my own pain point. The initial software development, we hired an engineering team and really kicked things off and just scaled from there. We now have probably 130 engineers or so. So we've scaled up the team quite a bit in the last few years.
You have 130 engineers?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's crazy. So now if you are, so what you're saying, oh, okay. We got another question here. All right. Thanks, Bob. Question for Kris. On the sales front, what tools and activities are you using that work best in engaging new customers? Obviously Sendoso. Any best practices you can share that you can leverage with your team?
Yeah. So, you mentioned Sendoso. Obviously we use, in terms of other tools that we're using that the team loves, I think Scratchpad's one of them that comes to mind. The sales team loves using that. There's, our sales engagement platform. We use Outreach for that. There's, let's see, what else did the sales team use? They're doing calls. But I think, I don't have our full tech stack off the top of my head, but maybe I can share that afterwards in the comments.
All right, that'd be great. And then from expanding a little bit more on Bob's great question. So just in terms of kind of sales that you do, mm-hmm. Any kind of best practices or tips or tricks you'd share?
Yeah, so I like to get involved with our sales team and even our customer success and account management team for expansion. So my suggestion is just, how do you leverage your CEO more? Since I'm coming from it from the CEO's perspective, I really try to jump on sales calls where I can help out with sharing the vision. Team selling. Also a big fan of doing customer roadshows. So I just got off of about 100 customer virtual roadshow where I met with about 100 of our customers the last couple months. And so those types of things have really helped unlock new expansion opportunities too. So that was a big win in terms of how I help my sales and account management team look for new opportunities.
Wow. It's something of a lost art. There's that good friend, Ed Murphy, who's CEO of a company in Power Retirement. So not quite a tech stack company, but we're talking about that. And, I think it's probably more in the older days, but, aspect of sales teams leveraging CEOs, being hands-on, adding the value, really leading by example, right? So you're not going to ask your sales teams to do anything that you wouldn't otherwise do. What about, do you get involved in, kind of cold calling yourself and reaching out yourself?
We do some of these fun like cold calling power hours where some of the executives compete against some of the SDRs or AEs, and we do like who can set the most meetings in an hour. So that's a fun activity that we do from time to time. In my day-to-day, I do a little I don't do that much cold calling anymore. I did it when we first got started, obviously, to help grow our initial customer base. I'm using more kind of team selling or investor relationships, social selling, things of that nature to drive kind of new interest in the platform. Or I'm doing media opportunities like this and other things to really get the name out there. But I'm a little less in the trenches, like doing cold calling at this stage of the company.
Gotcha. And I guess from an executive sell perspective, is it kind of a marketing exec, enablement, CRO, CFO, kind of, who's your ultimate kind of exec, I guess, kind of sign off or decision maker?
Yeah, so we oftentimes the sales team, so the VP of sales or CRO is the one that is really interested in using the platform, but marketing is also equally interested. And for most companies, marketing has a much larger budget. So we end up usually selling to both teams, where the marketing will end up picking up the cost for the platform and wanting to be a part of the administration of Sendoso, and then enabling the sales team, the SDR team, the account management team for access to the platform. We've also seen a good uptick in customer success and customer support teams and client service teams wanting to use Sendoso. It's kind of an obvious channel that you want to send stuff to your customers. And then we also help support people and HR teams too that are using it for internal related gifting or also for employee engagement, new employee onboardings, spiffs. So there's a lot of use cases on the HR side too.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. So if they want to do a employee recognition around Martin Luther King Day, around July 4th, around Thanksgiving, you have then some, it's not just getting a book in the mail, it's kind of some making it look, touch, and feel nice type of thing.
Exactly, yeah. And we can basically, we'll source everything and make it so it's a really nice unboxing experience for the recipients, and help coordinate all of that. So it's a very streamlined experience, and you can get it to just one team or all teams, and you can be very customized. And I think the biggest thing is really the creativity that we allow our customers, whether it's to employees or even to prospects and customers. You can really get as creative as you want with what you want to send, and then we'll help deliver on that kind of in the behind the scenes perspective.
Wow. So you can go, if I'm a kind of CRO and I have, my reps have, I'll say if it's a traditional SaaS tech company, right? An enterprise selling. So if I want to go into my Salesforce's CRM and say, okay, who are if it's say, global accounts, okay, we're selling to the Fortune 500, say, okay, who are the CIOs that we kind of want to reach out to? So we could reach out to 100 of them, 500 of them, whatever amount through CRM. And then through Sendoso, then you're saying there's kind of a tool or way that then you can kind of just automatically have it something that would say, I'm sending it to, John Doe at this company.
Yep.
And then it kind of, arrives nice. You'd have a customized note that looks like it's from the CEO or the rep or RVP or whoever it is. Is that how it works?
Yeah, exactly. So, we have an integration with Salesforce or the, Sales Loft Outreach of the world, depending on what tools the sales team's using. And within that, Salesforce, for example, there's a send button on like the contact and lead record. You can click it. It then pulls up what you can send to this person. And then you can click it, add in, type out, a message if you want it to be a really personalized handwritten note, and then click send and send it out. We also offer the ability to trigger off send so that you can go ahead and, set up an automation. So if someone moves from stage 1 to stage 2, that also allows for you to kind of trigger things off too.
So Kim was totally reading my mind, because I think we're both involved in trying to chase down addresses, which I'm trying to for a bunch of my knucklehead friends now for my book. And then Kim also, thank you so much. She's great. She posts once or twice a week in Sales Community and lots of great content there. So anyway, so Kim's question is, with so many folks working hybrid home office, how do you gather accurate addresses for sending, delivering? This is by far our biggest challenge.
Yeah. Right. So, great question. We have an address confirmation feature, which allows the recipient to confirm their address if they rather have it sent to their home office versus their work. And so that's a really effective way where the recipient just, you have their email address, which is easier to find, and you send off an email. They get a little link. They type out their address, and then boom, it's sent out and delivered to their home office. And then you can track once it's delivered to follow up thereafter. So that's been really effective. We also have digital gifts and digital experiences too. So in certain cases where you want to send something just purely digital, whether it's a DoorDash gift cards for someone to grab lunch, or a virtual experience, things like that, there's abilities to send that too. But if you want to connect with the physical gift, we have an address confirmation feature that works very, very well.
Wow. Very good. So there's the answer, Kim. And I'll put in a plug. So Force Management, fantastic company. And Kim, by chance, I was with Jim Sullivan last night, who's a great CEO of NWN. And they just did a great acquisition. Now I think they're $1 billion plus far and growing. And Jim couldn't say enough great things about the Force Management solution. So thank you, Kim, for the question. So kind of as you look to the future, right, continuing to go and grow and scale, if I remember right, I think you're kind of more domestic as opposed to international?
So we have international operations right now in terms of our fulfillment. So we have warehouses in Europe, Asia, Canada, and continue to expand our international operations. With that being said, our go-to-market team is mostly focused in domestic right now in the US. So we support international customers. We have a ton of, the Fortune 2000 public companies that might have operations across the world. And so we want to be able to provide sourcing and fulfillment and help those companies wherever they are or wherever they have customers. So we do have a global footprint. However, our sales team and marketing team is mostly focused on the US right now.
That's great. And then in terms of kind of industry, just because you grew up there, assume initially you're focused in the kind of tech sales area, but are you kind of expanding across other industries?
Yeah, so tech was kind of a no-brainer for us since, as you mentioned, I've got a lot of connections in that space. But we've seen a myriad of companies in different industries, whether it's finance, hospitality, real estate, automotive, insurance, big tech, consumer tech, the list goes on. So we really are applicable to every business in my eyes. So anyone that has prospects or customers or employees should be using Sendoso to send stuff and really provide a more engaging experience. And so we really see ourselves as, every company out there can leverage Sendoso because, we're so, you can get so creative with what you want to send. It's really applicable to any situation.
Wow, that's great. So I'm sure during COVID, your team and your clients got hyper creative. What are some examples?
Yeah, I remember, a handful of great examples were around like the different gift cards that people were sending. I thought it was interesting as, people were sending things like, you'd send like a Target gift card and say, go buy toilet paper, or, different things like kind of quirky things that were top of mind. Or we saw people sending things that were like coloring books and fun things like that the family would enjoy, because now you're sending not just to a prospect, but to a prospect who has family around them. So if you get wind of them having kids, there's, interesting gifts that you could send, like a DIY donut making kit, or, something that, has a little bit of fun for the family. So we saw people, sending gifts that were very timely. There was a lot of, DoorDash and Uber Eats as everyone was stuck inside. So people would love to get that. And just other things that people really resonated with, given that everyone was at that same kind of lockdown, shelter in place experience. So, we saw really a huge uptick during COVID, and because you couldn't go visit customers or prospects in person anymore, you weren't having field events anymore, you weren't, you were having to create a new playbook ultimately. And as part of that new playbook, Sendoso was a great way to drive personal engagement with prospects and customers.
Wow. What about any examples of things that were just kind of way over the top?
I remember last year someone was sending barbecues, and I thought that was kind of crazy. But hey, if it grabs someone's attention, cool.
Yeah, I guess you really got to make sure you have the right address if you're doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So I guess if you want to aim real high, no pun intended, you can start selling some Elon Musk trips to space.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I think that's the beauty of our platform is you can really send almost anything you can dream of. And so, we help our customers get creative and brainstorm different things that you can send. So.
Wow. What are on the personal side? What do you like to do besides work?
Yeah, big fan of golfing. So I find myself on the golf course, try to get out once a week, hiking, kayaking. Given that I live in Northern California, there's a lot of outdoor things to do. So really a big fan of getting outdoors. And, I've got a little dog, so trying to take her on walks or runs is pretty fun too.
Wow, that's great. I was actually out there in the I'll date myself in the late 80s running the West for EMC and loved skiing. It was just such a treat to be able to drive to Tahoe. Only half the time I think most of the people had never driven in snow before. So
yeah, no, I love Tahoe. It's a nice just kind of secret gem that's not too far away from the city, but far enough away that it's like a whole different place. So I was actually up there this last weekend golfing, of all things, and it's quite hot, quite the opposite of skiing. It was about 5 degrees or something. So definitely a little heat wave going through some of the West Coast. So
great. All right, Hector, thanks for the question here. So Kris, when you were in the trenches, hopefully you're always in the trenches, but when you're in the trenches, did you have a quota to gain momentum, or were you flexible in designing your outreach?
I always had quotas when I was in sales. I think quota, whether it was a quota that, I was hitting for, that was set by my company and it was something that, hey, I had to hit this quota. Or, when I was at some early startups, it was kind of go to market, and we were really just trying to see if we could drive product market fit. And in that stage, I didn't have really a defined quota. There wasn't a huge sales team, but I mentally set up my own quota. Hey, how many demos am I going to get this week? Or how many trials am I going to be able to get signed up this week? Or so I think quotas are just a great forcing function for sales to really think about how do they hit a goal and what activity metrics do they need to get to get that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Hector, thanks. And I love the example you gave before that you'll get in the trenches even these days on the cold calling efforts.
Exactly.
So good. What about on the kind of people side? Obviously, you've got on the one hand, you have hiring, where you're located, retention is just insane, right? Because you got every hot company going all over the place. Any things you do there special?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge, I'm very involved in our hiring process. So we, like I mentioned, we have about 400 employees and growing. And so I'm really active in helping go out and talk to candidates, whether they're early in the candidate experience and I'm trying to get them excited about the opportunity, or even whether it's kind of the final call to get them across the finish line. So I probably talk to thousands of candidates. I work very closely with our recruiting and talent acquisition team. And so I'm constantly trying to meet people, convince them to work at Sendoso. And I think that as part of my sales experience, recruiting is, benefiting from that, and that, there's some synergies in recruiting and sales, and that, in this case, I'm really selling people on the dream of Sendoso. And so I find that a sales background has helped me more ways than I thought, besides just, being able to get early customers, but it was also super helpful in learning how to be the best recruiter possible and really, the ability to go out there and sell someone on joining Sendoso, or if someone says no, just getting up and finding the next candidate and not being discouraged. Also, my sales background really helped with venture funding and raising over 50 million so far, and really convincing and selling VCs on the dream of Sendoso too. So
yeah, that's great. I know stage 2 is in. Who else are investors that you can talk about?
Yeah, so Oak's in, Storm Ventures, Craft Ventures, Signia Ventures, Struck Capital, and then a bunch of angels too. So we've got a big group of investors behind us that have helped us scale and believe in our vision and have conviction around the category.
Oh, that's great. And then I don't want to offend you, but on the one hand, you're a tech company, but the other hand, you're not, right? So it's super techy in terms of what you're doing. So because of that, you find a lot of your sales folks may not need to come from kind of the tech sales background, or do you find if they do that they're maybe better? I'm obviously biased, but that they're better than people that come from sales from other industries?
I think, we're selling software at the core. The software does help you send stuff thereafter. So there's kind of a secondary value proposition, but customers come to us because they want to modernize their sales and marketing approach, or they want to digitally transform this offline process to an online process. And so, our best reps are selling software. They're selling what software can do to help transform our potential customers' businesses and processes. So definitely, folks that have a high tech or sales background as it relates to SaaS are going to do really well here. We are also open for other folks that might have different sales backgrounds, but really a high grit and ambition and can really still sell, especially on the sales development side. Our SDRs, we've got over 50 SDRs now. And so in that role, we're open to folks maybe with a less sales tech experience, but just are hungry and ambitious to join a growing company and help set meetings and grow that way too.
Wow, that's great. So as you, again, for the folks at home or in the office, feel free to ask any questions. We'll be probably wrapping up pretty shortly here. So please feel free to ask any questions. Kris is very open and authentic. So thanks for that, Kris.
Of course.
Think about your, I call them BHAD goals, your big, hairy objective goals that you want to have going forward. So what's your kind of grandiose vision?
Yeah, I mean, my vision is just to continue to build Sendoso into a world-renowned company and have a team that loves working here, and ultimately, long-term potentially, going public as a big company and continuing to scale. But I think the two most important things are build a team and a company of folks that really love working at Sendoso, enjoy what they do day to day, and do that in a way that allows us to continue to scale and help our customers achieve their goals too. So if we're having fun doing it and our customers are seeing success, then we've got endless opportunities to grow into a big, large public company someday.
There you go. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I know we recently became acquainted, and you spent a little time on Sales Community, but any perspectives on Sales Community of how Sales Community can help?
I love the community vibe. I think communities are a great way to learn, to find mentors. I had some early sales mentors that helped me to network with other folks. I think you got a lot of great content there. I'm excited for the book that you sent me, so I'm looking forward to reading that. And I'm excited to get more involved in Sales Community too, and see how personally and then as a company too, we can be good partners for you. So.
And let's see here. So a couple of people have actually called it a textbook. So actually, I've gone through and marked up a whole bunch of stuff in here. So definitely is worthwhile. All right, Amir, thank you. Kris, how do you plan your sales targets?
Yeah, so our CRO is focused on this initiative. As an executive team and as a board, we'll look at our high-level numbers that we're trying to hit, and then we work backwards with that in terms of how many people do we need and what's the quota attainment and the quota goals to set for that. So I think we start big. What's our goal that we're trying to hit? And then how do we work backwards in terms of what we know the sales team can accomplish from the years and years of data that we have. And then based on that, we're setting our quota. And I think that that's really how we set our targets, is kind of looking at the big picture and then kind of doing the backwards math in terms of how many people, how many meetings, what's the quota thereafter.
That's great. And there's another perspective that I also found I'd share with you, Amir, is so it's kind of a tops down perspective, but then just doing a bottoms up. So whether I've done it when I was, at running smaller companies, or when I was at an EMC or an HP, you kind of say to the sales teams, as open as it is, hey, what do you think? What do you think your quota should be? Because a lot of times, if you come down as senior management, a lot of times there's that anxiety factor. Is it going to be good or not? How much are they going to puke? Are they going to leave? All that, but kind of working within your sales teams, whether it's you've got a single line management or multi-line management, to say bottoms up. What do people think that their quotas should be? And I'm always amazed over the years that people will come up oftentimes with numbers higher than what I thought. So again, whether you're a CFO, CFOs may not have any angst because they may not care just from the personality, but CEOs or CROs may care, but kind of doing that bottoms up perspective as well. And then depending upon the culture, sometimes you'll come back with something lower or come back with something higher. But another interesting way to do it for sure. And then it should also, just chiming in on Kris's sales community comments, we're working on hosting a kind of CRO dinner event in mid-August, which I think will be the first of several that we'll probably do on the road. And we're kind of real time figuring out some type of partnership here. But definitely have been impressed with Sendoso, and some friends that I've had to used it. Tucker, who's again behind the scenes here, I think was mentioning in our prep that when he was at Rapid7, they used it, and I used you, but kind of just the programming platform is pretty cool. And I guess people appreciate the gesture and the creativity, and there's always something, I think, no matter what level you are, but especially more senior up that you are, I'm always amazed, but just kind of any little tidbit of things that you give people have, they should want to work with you just because, but there's always this, I don't know if I could say this, guilt, but appreciation, and then kind of wanting to at least, okay, I'll give you the at bat, right? Okay, I'll give you 15 minutes, I'll give you a half hour for whatever call. And then speaking of that, have you had any folks that have been kind of creative doing things around the charity side?
Yeah, so we do a ton with charity. We actually have charity gift cards that you can send out, where you can incorporate, the recipients can decide what charity they want to donate to. And so oftentimes a company will use that as part of the gift too. It's saying, hey, here's a gift, or you can donate to charity. And so that's a really clever way to leverage charities, and pick your favorite charity.
And not out of curiosity of those where people have had an option between charity, or I'll say being selfish, charity or taking something for them, what percent have they done as charity? What percent have they done taking it for themselves?
I don't have that exact data off the top of my head, but we see a pretty high amount of charity gifts coming through our platform. So it's very popular, and it's a great way in certain industries too, where you want to leverage charity as a means to use for sending out gifts. So.
Wow. Yeah, I do that in my recruiting business. If I have people that give referrals, I'll say, I'll give you, $1,000 for you or $1,000 for charity. And, I'm amazed more times than not, they definitely take the charity aspect.
Exactly.
So that's fascinating. So as we start to wind down here, any closing kind of thoughts or words of wisdom or things we haven't covered?
No, I just say, I'd love to connect with more folks. So if people are interested more in the story or, in the company, would love to connect with more people. So you can, find me on LinkedIn, obviously, or, find me through email. I'm Kris, Kris @sendoso.com. So open to networking, and, excited to get more involved in the sales community and network even more.
That's great. I guess if we had our act together, we would have probably come up with some Sendoso /sales community type URL where they could kind of get something or a special or something like that. So we'll have to figure that out, I guess, too, right?
We'll do something fun for the dinners. We'll bring some cool gifts for the people that attend. So.
Well, that's awesome. And then just I meant to ask before on the wine front, do you work with kind of any winery, or you've got preferred relationships?
We both. So we have preferred relationships for certain wineries, although we can also source and ship specific winery if there's a winery that you love or one that you want us to store in our facilities and ship out. So we're very flexible there. we also work with different beer and spirits as well. If you want to send, high-end whiskey, things like that. So we really are flexible in terms of anything you want to send as it relates to that, champagne included.
Wow, I've got a client or a friend who's a kind of owner investor. And have you heard of Blackbird?
I think so. Yeah.
But anyway, so and obviously,
yeah, so we could source some of that and have that sent out too. So.
Wow, really interesting. That's great. Awesome. All right. Well, again, Kris, I can't thank you enough, nor we missed you, but hopefully we got through okay. Again, if you don't have your book yet, go get it. You go to Sales Advisor. You can go to Amazon or salescommunity.com/book. And if you are not a member yet of Sales Community, I highly encourage you to go check it out. And Kris, fantastic feedback, and Sendoso. Look forward to hopefully helping your growth, but continuing to watch and admire all the great success and everything you have and everything you've done.
Thank you so much, Randy, for having me on. This was great.
Awesome. All right. Thanks.
See ya.
Everybody have a great day.
You too.